Also, salmonella found in mold. Salmonella. Let me say that again. I'm sorry. Salmonella, mold possibly caused. Good evening. Good evening. All right, so I'm back, and I wanted to finish. I wanted to, stream the news, and initially, it just kept on buffering. So everything that I said, it would just you could hear only every other word that I said. But so back to where we left off. Okay, so right here it says human remains found in search for missing girlfriend of former NFL player Kevin Ware Jr. Now, a lot of people assume that because these guys have a lot of money, that they're decent people to be around. I think for the first policy is that we assume that you could be around just anybody. Another thing we assume is that the bad guys are just going to take the first no that you give them and go sit down and go catch a grip. But that wouldn't be the point of them being criminals. The criminals are looking for the weak and vulnerable or the marginalized. Not to call anybody weak. We're all strong. But technically, if you look at him and if you look at her, we could definitely say that in this situation, she's weaker. She's weaker than him, or was weaker than him. And he took advantage of that. And she's probably not the only woman. So women, please be very careful about being around these guys just because they have a title, whether it's a football player, basketball player, Hollywood star, rapper, whatever. Another thing is, I was watching a YouTube video, and I forgot because this was a long time ago. And they was talking about the NFL players was saying like they was getting harassed by police. And another person was like, well, that's only because they actually do be doing bad things, but they'll turn around and act like they're not. And or even worse, they'll act like it's the NFL. It's not them, it's the NFL, when in actuality they had a really stiff record before the NFL. So if the NFL is responsible for anything, it would be how come it seems like in order for people to be in the NFL, like they have to come from a really bad environment, no father in the home, already got drugs and extreme violent crimes, criminal crimes on their background before they even finish high school. A lot of these guys have criminal records before they finish high school, and it doesn't look like society cares that they're breeding a particular type of humans that don't know how to restrain their impulses. And clearly he from his perspective, either he's innocent or she made him do it. Let's see how it went. A body was found in Texas during a nearly 8-month search for 29-year-old Taylor Promaski, the girlfriend of former NFL tight end Kevin Ware Jr., who went missing in late April. Human remains were found in the North Harris County on December 10th by Harris County Sheriff Office investigator and members of Texas ECRU search, according to Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. The remains were not identified, but Gonzalez said investigators believe them to be related to the Promaski case. A cause of death has not been announced. And she looks like she's probably 5'4", like 113 pounds. If we get 5'8" out of her, like, we don't want to go into like the size. We could tell that she couldn't have been doing anything, as we saw with the other case. I forgot the football player, but he threw the girl around the room all up against the TV, picked her up and slammed her and all that. And I think he only got I think he's on bail or something. But anyway, as you can see, they were just talking. It was as if he literally planned to go over there and take out his frustration on her. But that's not the case. This seems more along the line of human trafficking. Domestic violence is along the line of stalking. But yeah, it just doesn't seem logical to think that a guy would go to a woman's house and just take advantage of her like that. But a spokesperson for the Harris County Sheriff Office did not immediately return a request for comment on the Daily News Wednesday. Promaski was last seen on April 25th at a party in Spring, Texas, just outside of Houston, according to police. Her case was transferred to the Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit in May, and investigators have said publicly that her disappearance is suspicious and she may have been the victim of foul play. Her mother, Leslie Mandeville, reported her missing on May 9th. Now, Pomaski's ex-boyfriend, Eric Zulinger, told Inside Edition that Pomaski he said that in April that Ware had hit her, but that she was going back to him. This was written, it has a typo, so I don't know what they were trying to say there. Kevin Ware, a former NFL tight end, was arrested in June for skipping bond supervision hearings. He was gaunt and had bruises and some swelling on her face. She was gaunt and had bruises and some swelling on her face. That's what he said in June. So it was a big difference, the physical transformation from April to March. It was shocking. Ware, 41, was arrested on drug and weapons charges in Montgomery County, Texas, on the 19th of April for drugs and weapons charges and released on bond. Then arrested again in June for failure to appear in court. A Montgomery County prosecutor called Ware a suspect in the murder of Pomaski's in June court filing, but no charges have been filed. So they didn't even file any charges yet. I think we already went over this one. This is another entertainment one, but it says this combination photo shows, I hate to even say that guy name. Let's just call him what he is. Stalker performing at Hot 97 Summer Jams 2019 in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So, he's trying to say that there's another story and he didn't do anything, but that's obviously crazy. Let me see, when was this put out there? When was this done? This was done Wednesday, so I guess they just updating us, because I know his picture looks very, like her and his pictures look very familiar. But yeah, we see more and more couples like this, and just not so good things happening in that case, Let's go over here to well, I don't think the security is gonna help. Let's see what happened here. A Tesla employee arrested for allegedly killing co-worker over feud outside of California factory. So this one was employee arrested for killing his co-worker outside the company's manufacturing factory in Fremont, California. On Monday, Fremont Police Department arrested Anthony Solima with a homicide warrant after a preliminary investigation found that he shot and killed a co-worker. Investigators report that the two employees were arguing early in the day when Solima, 29, suddenly walked off the job. The male victim, who has yet to be identified, later finished his shift and was shot in the parking lot as he left. This is the suspect. Fremont department responded to reports of a subject down in the parking lot around 3:26 p.m. where the victim was found unresponsive following a suspect violent crime with at least one gunshot wound, the release states. Um, so that's very unfortunate. So a man who has been in prison nearly 30 years is unlikely to be released unless he confessed to a murder he says his son committed. So this sounds terrible, right? Let's see what happened here. It says Joseph Gordon, a 78-year-old black man, has spent 28 years in New York prison for a murder he says he didn't commit. The New York Times report early this month in an article examining the facts that claim of innocence can have on people released from prison. He's now asking for his freedom for the sixth time. Gordon was sentenced in 93 to 25 years in prison after being convicted of over the 91 killing of Daniel Pack, a 30-year-old neurologist. Pack was fatally shot in Gordon's basement. Gordon's attorney insisted their client got rid of the body, but wasn't the one who committed the murder. Okay, so he admitted to getting away. Excuse me. He admitted to disposal of the body, but he's saying he didn't kill the neurologist. And my question is, how did he get the neurologist to his basement? The person that committed the murder was young, very young at that time, and I did what I did in order to protect that person. I was led to believe it was an unwanted sexual encounter, and that at the end of that part of it for me, because I'm going to disparage. I'm not going to try in any way to sully his reputation. Sperm was found in Pack's mouth, but authorities found in 2015 that it didn't belong to Gordon or his son, who lived with him at the time. Gordon's attorney alleged throughout the initial investigation that his son Pack and put his son on the stand, where he insisted that his father committed the murder. So his son didn't collaborate. So that's terrible. So the neurologist apparently was gay, which there's nothing wrong with being gay. You know, if it was unwanted advances, you know, they shouldn't have invited him over. But, you know, maybe perhaps he just knew those guys' information. We'll come back to those. Let's see what happened here. A teen boy was fatally shot in the parking lot of a Virginia high school following some type of altercation. On Tuesday, after a basketball team at the Maxville High School in Newport News, shots were fired and a young man was struck. Officers then arrived on the scene and performed CPR on the victim, but he died shortly after. So they don't know what happened, but they are saying, well, they didn't put in here what happened, but they all saying someone was shot. So with this one, with the 7 people, including 3 children, found dead in the Minnesota home, right here it says in a statement on Sunday, the Moorhead Police Department said it was still investigating the deadly incident at a residence in the city of Moorhead in Clay County, Minnesota. All of the victims had been transported to the Ramsey County Medical Examiner office, but autopsies are still active to determine a cause of death. On Saturday, police said they were called to a home around 7:50 p.m. that night for a report of several individuals who were found deceased inside a home. Family members have been conducting a welfare check at the home where they discovered the bodies. Upon well, the first responders confirmed the death of several individuals, and there was no signs of violence or forced entry, and there was no known threat to the public. This is absolutely horrible tragedy, even more poignant since it is close to the holiday time. I thought I had came across an article that said it was gasoline. I mean, not gasoline, but a gas leak. I don't know where I came across that article. I thought I saw one. But usually when it's like that, it's like a gas leak. But the first responders would have been more than likely to smell it. See, family of seven killed by gas poisoning while sleeping in a Minnesota home. Four adults and three children were found dead in a Minnesota home Saturday night in a suspect gas poisoning accident said to have happened as they slept. Although police have not confirmed their identities or cause of death, reports that Belin Humberto Hernandez, Elda Noah Hernandez, Baleen Falela Hernandez, Mike Bradley Hernandez, earliest Marlena Dor, and Marbelli Hernandez all died in their sleep. Excuse me if I mispronunciated those names. I'm trying very hard to pronounce them. It would be better if I just spell them out, but y'all can read it on the screen. But for those that are not looking at the screen, they're just listening to my voice. Yeah, I apologize if I mispronunciated those words. You can look on the screen and see how to pronounce them. The family comprising of a mom, dad, three kids. One moment. Um, so right here, yeah. So that's seven people, including three children, in a Minnesota home, and this is in Minnesota. Um, Now the family comprising of mom, dad, three kids, and an aunt and a niece are said to have succumbed to gas poisoning, although further details about the tragedy have yet to emerge. Authorities did, however, say there are no signs of violence or forced entry into the Hernandez Pinto family Moorhead home. Okay, here we go. So it's cold nowadays, and I don't know what the weather is in Minnesota. We can look it up. I would like to know how cold it is over there. But some people have to heat their homes up with gas, and um, I remember those days, and I never liked it because of the smell. So it says right here 23 degrees Fahrenheit today, and that's the highs. The lows is 6 degrees. So this is below freezing. I believe once the weather is 40. Oh, this is cold, y'all. Jesus. Once the weather gets below 40 degrees, it's like it's considered below freezing. And I've been homeless in below freezing weather, and that's just not fun. So if you have gas, you definitely want to use that option because it's not fun. It's not fun. I've been homeless in that type of weather. And the only reason why I survive is because of the grace of God. I'm not going to sit here and act like um, I did something special because you can't run your car. Like, you can run your car, you can keep your car running, but you can die that way if it's just sitting, so the smoke can start to go inside of the car and you could be asleep. So yeah, I know how it is, trying to stay warm. And it's very unfortunate because they were just trying to stay warm. 6 degrees low, 23 degrees high. Now, I didn't read anything about the Ghislaine Maxwell. I know I mispronunciated that. An innocent woman accused is motivated by money, defense says in closing argument. Let's read this just so we can kind of be up to speed on what's out there, because this is one of these cases where the perpetrator had a lot of bread, a lot of money. New York prosecutors claim that Jeffrey Epstein sexual abused teenage girls had nothing to do with Maxwell. A defense attorney for the British socialite said in her closing argument at Maxwell's criminal trial on Monday. Attorney Laura Minginger said Maxwell was an innocent woman and that prosecutors had not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Maxwell was aware or involved in the late financer's alleged crimes. The certainty proved to you that Epstein had abused his money and his power, that nothing to do with Maxwell and everything to do with Jeffrey. Maxwell, 59, who is charged with sex trafficking and other crimes, has pleaded not guilty. Epstein killed himself in a Manhattan jail cell in 2019 at the age of 66 while awaiting trial on sex abuse charges. So we look into this, we kind of need to understand that, how can a man with so much money be out here, molesting little girls? And it starts off with them just coming off really creepy. Don't know why there's these kind of creepy guys, but I think it has a lot to do, if he's that old, there's a point in time where women really was not protected in society as it pertains to these pervert crimes. It was almost as if they got a slap on the wrist for as punishment, and it was even harder to convict them. It was hard to even get them to press the issue. So he must have admitted to something, because it seems like that's the only way they get in trouble. Either it's on tape or they admitted it. Other than that, we got probably a perverts in every house or every other house in America. The reason why I say every house is because when you leave, ladies, we're going to have to start putting up a camera. I think the next time I leave home, what I'm going to do is go live on the front door, because I have it set to where you can only come in and out one door. Unless they have unless they already up there, like up under the house or up in the attic or something, and got some kind of secret layer, some door that I don't know about, we should be able to see them come through the front door and perhaps see them, doing whatever they do. Now, of course, they're, stalking, so they're listening to this, but, they're stalkers, so I would assume that we may get some action. The money brought the accusers to the FBI, saying the women brought personal injury lawyers with them to interview with law enforcement agents decades after the alleged abuse occurred. Memories have been manipulated in aid of the money. Ming Inger's closing argument is expected to last up to 2.5 hours. Prosecutors will then have the opportunity to present a rebuttal argument before the jury begins deliberating. So this didn't tell us the real, part of what went down, but there's other articles that do. Hey, let's click on this. This is saying that, say awful details reveal about House of Horrors. Kevin Spacey allegedly grew up with a sexual abusive dad. Isn't this the lady who played Carrie, brother? I forgot. Was it Cicely Spacek? I could be wrong. I think I'm getting it confused. I thought he had a sister, don't it? The one that played in that old movie back in the days called Carrie. He's tall, 5'11". I'm stuck on height because I was supposed to have been tall, but it's okay. Oh, that's not her. That's not her brother. But let's see here. It says the abuse was so bad. Star Trek actor Anthony Rapp alleged that when he was 14 years old, Kevin Spacey assaulted him at a party at his apartment in Manhattan. According to Rapp, Spacey came into a bedroom drunk where Rapp was watching TV and proceeded to pick him up, place him on the bed, and lay on top of him. Whoa. So wait, I'm confused. Okay, so I'm confused. So I guess the story is metamorphosis, as they say. So this was when. So if he was 14, how old was Kevin? But it says Rapp squirmed away and didn't speak about the incident until much later. Spacey apologized and said he doesn't remember it happening. He also came out in the same statement on Twitter saying he would not live openly as a gay man. Oh my goodness. The former House of Course actor was also accused of sexually assaulting an unknown relative of former U.S. News anchor Heather Humph. In light of these accusations, a 24 interview with Kevin Spacey's older brother, Randolph Flower, resurfaced saying that he, along with Spacey and sister Julie, were brought up by a Nazi father who sexually abused and brutalized them for years. The abuse was so bad that the children reportedly called their father the creator. It's important to note here that the vast majority of survivors of sexual violence do not end up abusing anybody. I heard contrary to that. It's actually opposite. I've read opposite of that. And we share this story simply as the alleged background of this one particular accused abuser. According to Randall, who is Rod Stewart impersonator and limo driver in Idaho, he and his siblings grew up in a house of horrors and suffered abuse from the hands of their dad. This is terrible. But let's see about this. How close are we to the Civil War? We'll turn this up. I'm going to turn off the radio elevator music.
Study on democracy and the rigid refusal by lawmakers to compromise underscores the disturbing findings of one study on democracy in the US. According to a Washington Post editorial, data from the Center for Systemic Peace finds the US no longer technically qualifies as a democracy after the Trump administration years. It's somewhere between a democracy and an autocratic state. Barbara Walter is a professor of international relations at the School of Global Policy and Strategy.
I think I just realized what they're talking about. I think they're talking about how there's people already saying that they are willing to do whatever they got to do if Trump is not elected after Biden. And I think what they're saying, that's going to spark a civil war, because what about those other Democrats that like are speaking like the polar opposite, like they vow with their life if Trump does get in office again. So me personally, I think Trump is for black women. Now hear me out. Only because he said that black men, well, let's say alleged, because I thought that's what he said. Maybe he didn't, but let's just go ahead and throw that out there. That the black women or the black community is not progressing as we would like for as economics and safety, because black men got their feet on our necks. They don't want to see black women come up because they want to keep us as a second-class citizen to them. So that's why he has my vote. The fact that society is swaying and don't want him to do that, it kind of goes along the lines of, research shows that the United States is the biggest human trafficker consumer. And, what other reason would you want to keep women as second class other than so that you can over exercise authority as it pertains to their safety and their economics? It's not a good situation to be in, to be harassed and stalked, assault, battery, and that's what a lot of black women are looking at. And I know it's not just black women. And I know that there are, all nationalities have evil people in them. I'm just saying that I only deal with the black community because I get to work from home and, do the call center thing, get cursed out all day. But I only deal with like African American men. Like I encounter them every time I go outside, and they always pose a threat. I always feel as if I need to watch them like a hawk, and I'm gonna have to prove that theory by going live in the next store that I go to or wherever I go. But it needs to be live from beginning to end, so I have to figure out how I'm gonna do it. I might have to record it. Will probably be the easiest way is to actually record it and then upload it. But the live factor is actually better. But that's where we have it. So let's listen to this.
Strategy at the University of California, San Diego. She joins me now, and I'm delighted. I mean, when we look at the research, it's frankly frightening, and you conclude that the US is, quote, closer to civil war than any of us would like to believe. How close?
Well, I've been studying civil wars for the last 30 years across the globe, and in fact, the last 4 years I've been on a task force run by the CIA that tries to predict where outside the United States a civil war, political violence, and instability is likely to break out. And we actually know now that the two best predictors of whether violence is likely to happen are whether a country is an anocracy, and that's a fancy term for a partial democracy, and whether ethnic entrepreneurs have emerged in a country that are using racial, religious, or ethnic divisions to try to gain political power. And the amazing thing about the United States is that both of these...
See, now, what she just said right there is, the marginalized entrepreneurs who are trying to use race as a form of political power sounds racist. It sounds like her statement is reverse racism and almost gaslighting at the same time. So we're not going to subject ourselves to mental anguish by listening to this lady who assumes that she's privileged and protected. She will see that if she goes against Trump, how bad it is now with crime, she's going to see it gets worse and worse, because you're going to need someone that wants to go in there and want to make a difference for the small people. There's a reason why people are poor, and it doesn't have anything to do with demographics. A lot of it has to do with people being preyed upon from family members that's supposed to be protecting them. And statistics shows, and if this lady is a United States citizen, what she just said is the prime example of why human trafficking is so big in the United States. She just admitted it by default. So we're not going to listen to what she says. She's racist. She may be what you call... You got to look these people in the eyes and you could tell that they're racist. It's one thing to be prejudiced. It's one thing to say, well, I prefer to only be around a certain demographic. But a racist is where you don't like a certain demographic. You don't want them to have any food. You want them to die. 7 people in the house trying to heat themselves with gas. Unfortunately, I didn't want to say it, but they probably was using a gas stove. And that means nothing to her with her bright Christmas tree and her trash talking and her division. She's creating even more division with what she just said. It's ridiculous and it's sad. These type of women hook up with Pookie and Ray Ray, and they do all this stuff. They do this race play. I'm not saying her specifically. My opinion is that she's racist with what she just said. That statement right there, we only a minute and a half in. She needs Jesus. She needs Jesus. All I'm trying to say is that, when Trump had gave people the relief, Trump was giving people relief with the pandemic payments for people who had to self-quarantine, and then so the companies had to kind of, downsize. She wouldn't have decided to do that. And if we be serious and if we be for real, let's be for real. What president would have did what Trump did during the economic, and he came up with those payments? There was so many different things he could have did. Just think about it. She wouldn't have did it. She wouldn't have gave nobody no economic anything. This woman is anti-economics. It's a shame. So, she comes off looking very nice and polished, like she has something to say that's going to benefit anybody, but it's not. She's just talking about a small majority of people that's going to benefit. Those are the big corporations and those crooked politicians. Unfortunately, they want to keep the wealth to themselves. She's what you would consider a socialist. Okay? Socialists, they want to keep the wealth like within themselves. Some people say, I remember back in the days, they used to say that poor people were poor because they didn't know how to spend money. I'm a witness that, I get stalked so hard, and there's no help on that. And it's not because I'm not taking somebody to court and suing them, because you don't sue Pookie and Ray Ray. You can't. She's never had to deal with opposition in her life. Clearly, she lives a very pampered life, and that's very fortunate and good for her. Problem is, if she doesn't realize that her protected class is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, to where it's going to be a figment of her imagination, if she don't stop being racist, stop fooling anybody with her little terminology she's using. She's racist. And I tell her to her face, she's racist. You can ask her. Don't ask people they have marginalized friends to know if they're racist. Just ask them if she feel like black women are equal to her, or black people are equal to her, or poor people. Ask her if poor people are equal to her. Ask her something about equality. People being equal to her. Are all people equal? Because with these little fancy terms about, they're trying to say like, the former president is trying to dictate everything, and he's trying to be a one person team. Like they say, there's no I in team. But how do you play with teammates that are essentially just dead weight? They're not doing anything to help, because they already have the bag. What point is it for me to share what I have with you when, if I don't, you can't do anything about it? So that's shameful, because she got a platform to speak on and to pollute minds. That's why they talk about critical race theory, because people are not recognizing that they are taking advantage of marginalized people. Don't allow marginalized people to come here to this country if you just want to treat them like second class. If you're going to adamantly designate them to third class citizens. All right, sorry I kind of got a little heated. That was racist, y'all. So a cop sees 22 pounds of meth buried in pot plants. So 23-year-old man in Australia faces charges after police say they found 22 pounds of methamphetamine in a truck he was driving. A search of a semi turned up large pot plants in which the drugs were buried in duffel bags. So I'm so confused. Don't this make y'all feel awkward to know that they had pot plants and had meth up under it? Like, don't nobody want to do meth. I'm trying to figure out who's asking for meth. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't understand that these drugs that come in, nobody is asking for them but the human traffickers to give it to unexpecting victims. Because nobody in their right mind is doing meth. I'm having a hard time believing. What does this say right here? It said police said the drugs would have a street value of $5 million. I wonder which one. That's interesting. Jesus. Wow. The seizure and arrest was the result of an investigation by a multi-agency, agency task force, Sentry, involving officers from the Drug and Serious Crimes Group, Australian Federal Police, Australian Border Forces, and Department of Home Affairs. Queensland Police said in the online post accompanying a video. So this wasn't in the United States then, right? No, this was in Australia, y'all. Yeah, so the reason why we're concerned with what's going on in Australia, because with $5 million, you definitely can make your way across the seas, right? That I read that one, I think 2 days ago. For youth criminals. Let's see what they're talking about. So the district attorney in Los Angeles, he wants to launch a diversion program for youth criminals. The thing about it, the thing about these people in office with money, um, I'm not saying that they don't know how to help the majority, poor people, because this man doesn't look like he ever had to go without a meal or sleep in a home that was 20 degrees below, Fahrenheit. And if he did, it was because he's probably trying to do some weird, not weird, but some kind of bet. Maybe he lost a bet and you're like, okay, don't eat milk. Something along those lines. It wasn't like he don't have any money for the food. I'm talking about being financially burdened. He doesn't look like he ever experienced financial burden. And so people want to assume that youth criminals, that he can relate to them and then direct them into where they need to be. I mean, he's a district attorney, so he's seen so many different cases, but people lie real good and hard, especially criminals. I mean, they just tell you stuff. They'll tell you. I watch those law shows a lot, and they say, like, when they get confessions, they said those confessions can run for like years long if they let them. And they say that they'll let the victim's family hear the confession, and they warn them that some of that is true, but most of that is a lie. Even though they're confessing, they're still lying with the confession, if that makes sense. I know it's awkward, but let's see what they're talking about here. Announced the launch of a new diversion program for juvenile criminals, the restorative enhanced diversion. And see, you know what? As I think about it, the other lady who I said is racist, on the flip side of things, I understand that she do not want Pookie and Ray Ray in her neighborhood. And she may feel like with the administration giving people all that money every week, that they was going to be able to move in next door to her practically. And so I understand she's looking at it like that and saying like she don't want them next to her. But what she forgot about, or another theory she should look into, is the Jussie Smollett situation, where these elites could rent the house next to hers and put the Pookie and Ray Rays in them, and Keisha's. So she got to remember that there's other things that can happen. But let's see what happened with this one. The restorative enhanced diversion of youth pathway aims to move young people from incarceration to rehabilitation. A slap on the wrist for some felonies. The qualifying felonies include burglary, assault without firearms or extensive injuries, vehicle theft, robbery, grand theft, person, sexual battery, and arson. So he wants, if we read that right, he wants to give a slap on the wrist for youth offenders that have felonies. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know if what he's planning to do, if it's going to benefit the majority versus just a select group. The reason being is because when someone does something wrong, if they're not aware of the severity of the crime, what's going to stop them from doing it again? On the flip side, when people have those type of charges on their record, they can just cross out getting a job. They have to work at like a construction site, and I think they are limited to where they'll be able to work with those kind of charges. So that's on one side of the fence, they'll still be able to get a job. But on the other side of the fence, they're not aware of the severity of what they did. And he may be creating a repeat offender where he has a person who's a youth and they committing burglary after burglary because of the program he put in there. And, it's just catching behind itself like that. What happens if they repeat offenders? So, but that's to assume that all criminals are really bad people. Some of them could just have been around the wrong environment and was coerced to do things. That does happen. That's very possible. But a lot of them kind of gave up and went along with the criminal situations. So it goes both ways. So this would be very interesting to kind of see, because hey, let's see what they're talking about right here. Whew. Yeah, so what this happened, y'all, is there's a mom who said, like, I'm paraphrasing this because this is 5 minutes and I could give it to you in like 50 seconds. But there's a mom out there who's really being very vocal, and which is good. But she's letting people know, like, I think her daughter was told, hey, here, take this vitamin, essentially, like a pain pill. Come to find out it was fentanyl. And she passed away. Just like that. She was told essentially, and I am exaggerating a little bit, but we can't compare like a pain pill for a headache to fentanyl. You might as well, you do better comparing a pain pill to a vitamin. And she took it and she passed. Like I was saying, fentanyl is the problem with it. I have a video I had that when looked into it. But China know what they're doing. They're the manufacturers of that stuff. We read this one yesterday, so I think that's all about news stories. Actually, there were some old stories that hey, when we talk about power abuse, as a misconduct investigation against him continues, a Washington superintendent was fired and a move seen as fiscally responsible by the school board. I think we read this one yesterday where they was talking about that it was a guy, it was a person with the taking bribes or something as it pertains to the school district. It was at HISD, and I said I don't know if that acronym or that actually meant the school board, because who's taking bribes with the school board? So I was wanting to look into it, but let's see if this is it. Mike Merlino was previously placed on paid leave as an investigation into whether or not he abused his power in an attempt to inappropriately promote his girlfriend. However, the Evergreen High School Board voted to fire him immediately without cause. As a result, he received around $300,000 under the provisions of his current contract. He will receive $300,000 as a provision of his current contract. Although they will be paying him a hefty sum of cash, this move was seen as a way for the district to save money during the investigation. It's always very disturbing to have a no-cost stipulation and pay out somebody when you feel like they shouldn't be here. But we recognize this year's ago that can be very expensive. They're trying to fiscally responsible is something that we want to be, because we do have a fiduciary responsibility to our community, and we want to protect that as much as we can. I'm a little razzle dazzle. 300, yes, fire me so I can get $300,000. And the sad thing is a no call stipulation. So what they're saying is they want to fire him at no cause, meaning they want to fire him just because he wore a purple shirt with a green tie on Tuesday and he was person had wore that on Friday. I'm saying hypothetically, right? They're saying that they can fire him for no reason at all. We just want to fire you for being in here today versus yesterday, or we just want to fire you because you just passed gas, we fell out, whatever. I'm just being hypothetical. But when they hired him, they came together. Not he got them to, but they who hired him, the school district, the powers that may be, they hired him, and he got the contract to be written up in the form of there's a no call stipulation, meaning he can't be fired just because he had on a green and white shirt on Wednesday. You have to have an investigation and prove that he did something wrong. In the process, what they're saying is they're not going to be able to fight him in court. I mean, of course they can, but that's going to cost the school district money. So it's sad, because another way of looking at it is that this man is willing to take that money from those kids. And from the kids' mouths, if you think about it, with the school lunch, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it. When I was growing up, if I didn't have school lunch, I went without food. So he should think about that. Him and that other lady, what they want to keep, want to create subclasses. They're creating human trafficking. We read that one, I think, like 3 days ago. So I guess we probably leave out of here early, because I'm not going to check the newspapers. Because I thought we had saw these already. Man seriously wounded in small town Minnesota shooting. Wait, what's that Minnesota with the bodies? I'm working with my memory, guys. Let's roll up. People who experience a lot of trauma tend to have memory problems. Also, ladies, be aware that, yeah, it was Minnesota. Ding, 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 I match. Anybody like playing that matching game? They had it on, they have like a matching game on these computers. I need to look and see if they still have it, because it's good to use those. I like doing puzzle. I have like a online puzzle game I try to play. I'm not good with words, crossword puzzles, but I like word search. But what was I saying? Human traffickers, like I said, they look for marginalized people. So, I was raised in a specific type of environment, but that's not why someone, um, like I said, they cannot profile people that are criminal based. Like, you don't profile Pookie and Ray Ray because they're not doing anything different than just being a criminal. But they need to profile Pookie and Ray Ray because that lady would never feel the way she did. I don't know her name. I'm gonna have to not bring her up again. But okay, so let's not bring her up again. We just like the word says, you gotta, when you go to sleep, don't feel angry. It's just that she was kind of trying to undermine. What do they call that? It's a word for that. I guess it's undermine. She was trying to undermine people and then try to. She's like technically like grooming. She just groomed us, like, really, with her word salad. She just groomed us, and I felt like she just sexually violated folks with her grooming. It was triggering what she said in a form of trying to play with someone's intelligence and their opinion on the matter. Don't, because my opinion is polar opposite of yours. Don't try to make me out to be a retard. Why I gotta be the retarded one if that's the case? You the retard with a lot of money. So sorry about that. Let me not scream. But oh yeah, I gotta stop saying it's just not very professional. They should profile Pookie and Ray Ray because that's why that protagonist, because she's a protagonist, that's why she feels that way. But common sense is like, you can't profile Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray can get around. But I don't know. We need to sit down and talk about this, ladies. Because you can't profile Pookie and Ray Ray. You don't profile people who are already criminal. you know, it's unfortunate that we are not aware of the devices that guys use to stalk. So some people feel like, oh, you're being stalked because you're leaving your front door wide open. But they don't know why. They don't know what that stalker did to get you to be in that vulnerable state. And that's why I say, with the DA trying to help out the youth, that's wanted. Because we can't give up on people like that. You can't give up on no child. Even if they 18, I think it said 7 to 18. We can't give up on our youth. Because they gotta take care of us when we get old in age. But so Minnesota is like a small town. Would y'all hate me? Wait, Minnesota. Hold on a minute, y'all. That doesn't look small. Okay, so what they said, there's a small town over there. We don't have any small states. residents, right? Do we? I mean, in comparison to California, but I'm saying, but if you take California out of the equation, we don't have small states, right? But it says a small town. Oh, but just 2,000 residents. I think that's what I had got just stuck on. So, who would be comfortable living in a town with just 2,000 residents? It would be misery for me because I'm not in the mood of being friends with everybody, and you have to. You can't live in a town with 2,000 people and you're not friends and you're not friendly. It's not gonna work. I mean, 2,000 people means that we want to be friendly. If you don't want to be friendly, then you have to move to the next town, and it should probably be in walking distance almost. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds like a horror movie. A town with, 2,000 residents. It sounds like pure misery, man. Pure misery. What if it's just like some old, you know, it could be pleasant, but it looked like if you get in the wrong way with one person, you're done. Law enforcement in Blue Earth County are searching for a suspect after a shooting seriously injured one person Sunday morning. Officers responded to a report of a shooting on the 100 block of 4th Ave, southeast of Mapleton, at around 10:13 a.m., according to the Mapleton Police Department. A 50-year-old man was identified as the victim, having been shot multiple times. He was conscious and transported to the hospital with serious injuries. Multiple other people were present at the time of the incident. Investigators are currently working to identify the suspect. The incident remains under investigation by the Mapleton Police Department. I was just stuck on the 2,000. I'm stuck on the 2,000 residents to where when I read that like a robot. I'm just still stuck on that. I probably need a little break. Hey, let's see what's going on with this. Oh, so I can't see the chat because I was supposed to like make it go out to another window, but it don't work like that. So I can't see the chat. So because one moment. All right, so here we go. All right, so here we go. All right, so here we go. All right, so now more than ever, there are two distinct worlds of capital punishment in the United States. It has long been the case that the death penalty has flourished in some regions of the country and in other states more than in other. And the release of the death penalty information center's annual report for 2021 makes clear that the distance between those two divergent paths rapidly increased last year. The death penalty of 2021 was defined by two competing forces: the continued long-term erosion of capital punishment across most of the country, and the screen conduct by dwelling numbers of outliners jurisdictions to continue to pursue death sentences and executions. Capital punishment increasingly is used in just a few idiosyncratic locales and offers another fault line in the country's fragmented political, legal, culture life. They really didn't tell us anything, y'all. They really just, I guess they just kind of want to make the conversation, because there's so many questions to ask. First thing you want to know is the demographics of the people being put under the death penalty. They see the world in fundamentally different ways and think of the political struggle over the death penalty as a struggle over fundamental values and different ways of life. But I think the reason why it seems like it's more African Americans being arrested for violent crimes is because more African Americans are committing violent crimes, because they're getting in trouble with it, because it's like doing stuff that's really silly. Like, it's criminal, but it's like obvious that you shouldn't do it. For example, when the guy got locked in the cell phone place, so was that a cell phone place? So he went in there to steal cell phones, and I think it's like tracking in cell phones, to where that's not real smart. That's not gonna work. But if you was around those people, they'll probably coerce folks into doing stuff they don't want to do. So that goes along the theory that we need to separate ourselves from amongst ourselves, because we have a lot of people that's in the African community that are criminals, and they're looking for marginalized or people that's smaller than them, which is women and children, and push them up to do crimes that they wouldn't have did if they wasn't nowhere around. So the thing, like with that DA, with him wanting to help kids, one thing is to take them out of the cities and put them in places where, they're not around their own kind. The problem with that theory, it sounds beautiful, but in practicality is known, because we did the article on that the other day, right? It's known that marginalized people tend to get pushed into certain areas in certain states. So whatever state you go to, you kind of gonna be pushed, into this specific type of neighborhood. And that can happen with economics, insecurity, and lack of protection. Without protection in economics, and without protection in economics, the whole world is going to be doomed, the whole planet. Because we think, like, because United States is a developed country, just like Europe, what other continent is developed? Most of the other ones are not developed. What they call it? They have another word for undeveloped. But yes, we black women need economics and protection. Men that commit domestic violence and assault us need to be given stiffer sentences, so it would deter them from doing it. So, like, give them life. And that's another thing you could do with those kids. That's one extreme. It's an extreme, I know, but we need to take extreme measures, because to a certain extent, this should be extended to men, especially if they're small. Because you could have a man out here. Cause I almost felt like that was the scenario with my ex-husband, is that but he's a liar, so I know that's not the case. But he was trying to feed me the narrative that some big dude wanna feel like they're entitled to me over him, and he can't do anything about it. And it was like, okay, once I was, older, because that was like in my 20s, I actually believed that narrative. I believed that narrative was possible until, like, just a few months ago when I said, well, what if I was the guy, you was the girl? Why wouldn't I call the police and this, that, and the third? You know, why would I just comply with that? See, I don't know anything about that. If anybody was with me, it was unconscious, and that's a crime to be with someone unconscious, or to racketeer someone, or force someone to do something that, you know, they ain't got, that they don't want to do. It's a crime. That's illegal. So that's why I say, you know, that's not true. He's actually the one trying to put people in those kind of situations. Because then the next thing you know, it was big guys coming around me, and he was like, oh, there they go. And then once I got a gun, I stopped having those encounters with those big guys. Because, you know, it's really obvious that if I shoot somebody that's as big as a bear, that I'm no charge and no sentence. Because you're not supposed to be terrorizing folks. And, you know, with a size that big, it's obvious that they're in the wrong. They have no business all over there around you, like all hover around on folks. But we have opponents of the death penalty. I'm not one of them. Even though I'm a Christian, my stalker should definitely be on, should have a death penalty. He should have a death penalty. He definitely should be on death row. And it almost feeds along the narrative that the state allow these sexual, you know, sexual battery, allow these perverted crimes to have lenient sentences so that they can just repeat it. Okay, let's read this. So they said somebody got out. Listen to it.
She was the first female NYPD officer to die in the line of duty. The year was 1984. And now the man who fatally shot Irma Lozado with her own gun is back on the streets. PBA President Patrick Lynch is furious, saying, quote, the release of her killer is a blow to every cop who put her life on the line to stop criminals from preying on innocent New Yorkers. We continue to urge Governor Hochul to fix our broken parole system before another hero's sacrifice is dishonored. Former NYPD officer Dan Bongino knows exactly the sentiment. He's been out since December 7th. Dan, why is this a priority?
But listen, this police officer who was murdered would have had decades of life. Yeah.
You know, someone may want to ask me, you know, why are you for the death penalty being a Christian? And this would be the reason right here. They're going to let this man out, and we'll be sadly mistaken if we don't think that he's not trying to get a woman by herself so he could take advantage of her. So that could be his delivery girl, the mail girl, or anybody. He come up with any kind of cockamamie story, or God forbid, the telephone lady, you know, the cable lady, come out there. And how is she supposed to know this guy just killed a female cop? So people who commit crimes against marginalized people, and if they don't want to give us economics and they don't want to protect us, at least they should look at it as protecting themselves. Now, I understand they're saying, well, if they release him, he's not going to be in that fancy neighborhood with that lady with the Christmas tree up and all that. He's not going to be over there in that neighborhood. He's going to be in a neighborhood that none of those people have to worry about him being next door to them. So they look at it that way. I guess they don't care who's released, but understand that you have that Jesse Smollett situation where they put in folks where they couldn't afford to be. They'll put them up there just to bother you, just to stalk you, just to watch you, and they'll coerce them into doing that. Make it seem like they'll frame them or just tell them, because they're marginalized. Folks that just got out of jail, you know how that goes. They're marginalized right there. It doesn't matter what race or how much money they have. If their crime is severe enough, they're marginalized. But this is one of the reasons why I'm a fan of I'm for the death penalty. You got people who get good at taking advantage of people, and they don't want to go to jail, and they will take necessary precautions, and it could be another female's life.
Left, Brian. I mean, she was 25 when she was brutally killed. Now, I am a big believer in the power of redemption through Jesus Christ. I am, especially during this holiday season. I should evangelize the cause. It's my job. But that's between you and Jesus Christ. On planet Earth, you're a danger to human beings. The man who was prosecuted and convicted for this had a rap sheet before. Why this person is back out while this hero officer, again, will never take another breath of oxygen, I think is puzzling to every sane and rational human being. And as I say often, just remember around these holiday seasons, this is now decades where that family's had to look at an empty seat around some Christmas dinner table where that officer's not there. And all those memories are gone to never be taken and never be gotten back again, ever.
Hopefully this it rings true on Election Day, because you got to get some people in these Democratic states that understand law and order, or some Democrats that sober up. I want to bring on something else that I found rather unique. In this new country artist world, so many of them are gone Hollywood, way to the left. Not Jason Aldean, and certainly not his wife, Brittany Aldean, who not only is on left, she's firmly and proudly right, and even has a conservative line of clothing to back it up. I want you to hear what she said to Pete over the weekend.
We should also realize how shameful it is that we actually are taking political advice from like Hollywood elites. Isn't that counterintuitive? It's awkward. Like you've done, you barely graduated from high school in some cases, and just because you are a Hollywood elite or whatever, you got political advice, and people taking your advice over, good guys. Like this cop's family, who I know is devastated by this person being released. This is crazy. The consensus was 20 years. 20 years was give a person enough time to not do that again, because they get 20 more years. But it don't work like that. We just went across several cases, I think yesterday, right? Where people got out of jail, or was it 2 days ago? People got out of jail and went back to that person home and killed them.
I think there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there, right? There's a lot of people that are very vocal on Instagram and other social media platforms. However, the support that we received, it was unbelievable. From people within the music industry to people that, just they came out of the woodwork saying, thank you for speaking up. We wish we could. So much bigger than us. It's so much bigger than our generation. We have children. And that's what I think when I had children and realized, oh, this is so much bigger than all of us. We have to do what's right, what's important for our future children and our future generations.
And Stan, I don't know if you're done shopping yet, but they have a clothing line for Christmas. Unapologetically conservative, military lives matter, unsilent majority, we the people, t-shirts and sweatshirts.
Yeah.
So proud to do it and willing to take up with any blowback that might go on her or her husband, Jason Aldean.
know me, man. I'm an entrepreneur. I'll partner up with them in a second. Listen, there is a huge economy out there, Brian, for free speech and anti-cancel culture stuff, and it proves a theory I've stated many times on my podcast, on the Fox Nation radio show here, that the left's cancel culture movement is inherently cannibalistic because of people like the Aldeans. Eventually, Brian, conservatives like us and the Aldeans figure out that the cancel culture people are a small minority of idiots in their mom's basement eating Hot Pockets, right? And then they're like, okay, why are 51% of us taking...
I'll take a Hot Pocket. All right, I'm just playing around. It has too many carbs. Don't eat Hot Pockets, y'all. Or you can only have a Hot Pocket. Like, you don't eat a Hot Pocket and think then you can eat like a full meal. Because Hot Pockets have like enough sodium and carb for the whole day. So you do better take a Hot Pocket and cut it in 3. Seriously, if you're concerned with, because bread put the white food such as flour, sugar, salt, what else, rice, pastas, those put weight on you. Now, the only time having like a carb diet works if you like a triathlon, like if you do a lot of running, you need a lot of carbs because your body will burn it off, and you have to have fat. You have to have some layer of fat on you. Of course, men have less. We've seen a lot of them nowadays that don't. And I often wonder how come I've been seeing a lot of guys with a lot of fat on them. Is it like what's in the? I guess they just got a lot of money to buy food. Food is expensive. I mean, I don't hear anybody talking about that. Is food not expensive?
Orders from the 49%, and it's not even that high, of idiots who hate free speech. This is cannibalistic. So what's going to happen? As conservatives start to ignore them more and more, like the Aldeans, they're going to start to cancel each other, which you're already seeing on the left because there's power in it, and they love it. They're running out of victims on the right. So now they're canceling each other. This is a cannibalistic enterprise. It can't succeed because the math doesn't work. I promise you it'll burn itself out over time.
Okay, we'll see. And I can see Jason Aldean on the Dan Bongino podcast or on your Saturday show Unfiltered pretty soon. Absolutely.
The invitation is there. Producers on my show, can we get him? That great idea. Thank you, Brian. You should get some extra production credit for that in the show this week.
Right. And why am I not in your credits when you roll the credits at the end, Dan?
It's a shame. It's a sin.
Right.
A moral sin that's happening.
Right. Absolutely. And Dan, thanks for looking past me and booking the show. Actually past the person interviewing you. I appreciate it.
No
Dan
problem.
Bongino, thanks. Appreciate it.
Taggart House. Sad news to start with tonight. A father and daughter in Boiling Springs have died after deputies say a domestic dispute turned deadly. They responded to a home this morning along Homestead Drive. There they found a woman outside with several gunshot wounds. She was taken to the hospital. Deputies discovered her husband, Arthur Brennan, had shot her and locked himself and their 23-year-old daughter, Maisha Brennan, inside their home. That is according to deputies. They tried communicating with Brennan, but after no response, the SWAT team went inside that home. They found both of them dead. Deputies say they believe Arthur shot his wife and his daughter.
I don't know how the country can stop this from happening because, I grew up in the 80s and I've seen a lot. I was just a child, so to see this type of violence repeat itself, the scripture tells us history repeats itself because we're too busy partying instead of reading the history, trying to learn from it. And I can't quote the Bible to anybody because we all sin and fall short of glory. What that means is that when we're born with flesh. That flesh is sin. That flesh is sin. So in the background, you can hear my stalker music because if I don't play it, you will hear him. After so many years of hearing him, cause when you're young, I can block stuff out, but it's to the point to where I feel homicidal when I keep on hearing him. So the Bible says, pray always for, and always be praying for all things. So I just said, well, let me just leave that to the Lord in prayer because the Bible tells us to obey the laws of the land. I'm not able to go out here and just, take somebody's life because they're harassing me. And you may say, well, why the cops are not doing their job? But they're going to ask you, are you hurt? Did somebody punch you? You know, I don't see him. He has some type of device in here to where I, hear him, and he's just saying, he just blows up whatever I do wrong. So let's say I'm walking, I trip. It's a high, It's just like when people prank call houses and they start breathing hard in the phone, and it's like, hearing. Just imagine if you didn't have to pick up the phone and it just do when you walk around places. And it makes you feel, it'll kind of make you homicidal. And I think that's the reason why we see a lot of these people killing folks like this in the homes. Because we got these stalkers out here with these devices that make you feel like, it make you feel homicidal, but they're just taking it out on the wrong person. The problem is I guarantee if they put that person on death row, this will stop. This is all because nobody wants to do what's right. People always feel like, hey, I'm not being affected by it. But I can't go and arrest him. I can't put him under citizen's arrest. He's twice my size and height. Although I have a gun, like I said, I can't. What gives me the authority to go to another state? Because he's stalking me from a different state. What gives me the authority to get up and go put him under citizen arrest with a gun? And then shoot him, because he ain't going to comply. He's a criminal. So I play that little, I got the elevator music on top of it, but there's another song I'm playing in the background. And I don't know what the states are going to do to stop this kind of violence. Because, yes, when I was growing up, yes, it was bad. And I grew up in the city, so.
Thanks for joining us tonight at 11. I'm Brittany Berner. Since Friday,
Ain't she fine?
people
Look.
have been shot in Baltimore. At least 2 died and others remain in critical condition. WMAR2 News' Abby Isaac joins us from police headquarters after speaking with community activists about the path forward.
Following the violent weekend, one community activist told me, instead of pointing fingers, people should be extending their hands and trying to help people who are struggling.
All right. We just read a story yesterday about a woman who was in that type of mode of extending a hand and helping people, and you got one missing and the other one dead. That's not what that activist can do. May necessarily not be the same thing of what a woman should do. So ladies, don't fall into that with these pastors. It's probably a pastor that said that. Don't fall in line with that. Don't fall in line. Don't even get out these churches, please. Please.
It's so sad to understand that people aren't placing value over life.
After 21 people were shot in Baltimore this weekend.
Oh my goodness. 20 people shot. I was assuming that they was talking about like somebody let off 20 rounds up in the, woods somewhere or something like that. They're talking about 20 people were shot. But I think that has something to do with that stalking. That now I don't know if this is with what's his name? Wasn't it what's that man's name? The Monica Lewinsky dude. Not that he's a I don't mean to be informally speaking about the former president Bill Clinton. Didn't Bill Clinton do that patriotic thing to where people could listen in to folks' conversation? But it's supposed to be. He did it in a way that people was talking about as just stalking. And I was young, and I was like, he can't be trying to stalk. I mean, he's the president. What in the heck would he be stalking for? That's what we trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. These pervert laws need to be a little bit more tougher, because now you have people going loco, and I think that's the reason why, because it takes a lot to make me angry. But just imagine someone over you breathing hard, literally when you go walk and you get in the car, you go take a shower, you go get some food to eat out your own refrigerator, you go to the microwave, you go back down the hallway, you come over here and it will make you homicidal. They do that because they giving up on life and they don't care about their lives. And if somebody don't care about their own life, why wouldn't they be over you doing like you would think they have to go into work. You would think that some man would set them straight, because there's also some men sitting there watching him do that stuff, and they don't care as long as he's not doing it to them. But I think that's what's going on with all these murders. Y'all need to do something with that the Patriot Act. It's the Patriot Act. With these, if it's not the Patriot Act, then it's China hooking up with Pookie and Ray Ray and them and Keisha, and they are harassing folks via the airways, like via through your Bluetooth devices, or they found a way like rats in people's homes and put in listening devices and must have it connected to the electrical wiring system. Otherwise, they have to get back in your home to redo those batteries. And I stay in the house so long that it can't be a battery thing. But that's what's causing it. Just because I can deal with it, like just because I go throw together me a little song and listen to it and it helps me feel relaxed, other people ain't feeling that. Other people are not feeling that or don't know to do that. But I was told by my stalker to come up with that song like a long time ago. And that's when I started realizing that this puppy ain't wrapped too tight. And I was trying to see what kind of mental health issues he had. But come to find out, it's not easy to find out what kind of mental health people have. Mental health problems people have. You can't find that out. You have to have a lawyer to do that. So I assume automatically that there's no way he's under anybody's psychological care. Like if he's under somebody's psychological care, he needs to be branded on his forehead that he's a danger. He's a danger to people. And then he got these big wigs vouching for him and funding him because they just want to exercise authority over people because they're miserable with their lives. Do you know I don't get up and think about anybody any kind of way? Do you know how free that is for me? I don't think about anybody any kind of way. Not like that. I mean, I think about Denzel Washington. I'm not going to front. I'm a Christian. I wake up, even though I saw a picture of him, he had makeup on recently. I still see him as a very attractive guy. Now, I can't say I would want to be with him. That's just my fantasy play thing. My fantasy play. Where but I'm not thinking about waiting for him to get up so I can start breathing hard and making him irritated. That creates a prison for people. I could honestly say I've never been that type of person, fortunately, to wake up and I'm worried about someone else. Like literally, I'm just boom, I just got you on my mind all day long and just bother you all day nonstop. Do you know how miserable like that person has to be? It has to be like a gnawing, gnashing of teeth, misery for you to just this person didn't do anything to you. But they're looking at it like it's a job, I guess. It's kind of like how I don't like going into work getting cursed out. I guess, but that's different. That's still like an action from someone else. That's like me picking someone at a bus stop and follow them home and then just start start with all my might, heart, just like stop everything. Stop living in this world. And just focus all my time and energy on harassing them. That's torturing for that person to have that on their mind. And they're not crazy, they're evil. That's evil. And so there's a big difference between being crazy and evil. I want to say you're evil once you, after the third time. Because somebody could make you mad and you start cursing them out, and then you get up the next day, you just curse them out. But after a third day, you don't think about that person again. Why would you? Now, what could be even bad is that I want to harass Denzel, not because I want to have sex with him, but because I know that other women do. And so I want to create some type of business with him unconsciously, with him being unconscious. That's crazy. But that's not, that's crazy to come up with. Like, that's dumb. And that's what stalkers do. Stalkers are like I said, it's another word for pimps. They all work in unison together. But it's the Patriot Act. I'm willing to bet they need to do something with the Patriot Act. But it's supposed to help people with terrorism, you know, because they was bombing people. So that was the point of doing the Patriot Act. But what they need to do is, I guess, because you can never really stop these people from doing that. But I'm pretty sure that if I had the resources that these police have, this stuff would not be going on. I'm sorry. A lot of these criminals call the cops and tell them what they're going to do before they do it. Now, the police defense is they don't know if it's a prank or not. But after the third time, and it sounds like the same person, they are very negligent. And that's why United States, with this much crime, is starting to look like a third world country. Because why are they doing this?
Nonprofit director Nicole Mosby Taylor says she's outraged, but not discouraged.
It gives me that drive to go harder.
Many of the weekend's shootings involved multiple victims, with ages ranging from 15 to 60. Friday night, 5 people were shot on North Avenue. A 36-year-old man died. 4 people were also shot near the Pennsylvania Avenue Market. 1 died. Mayor Brandon Scott says this violence is not about police deployment. In multiple instances, officers were on foot in the area and people still carried out these shootings.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they had some kind of semi-automatic, something that shoots out like 40-50 rounds with one squeeze of the nozzle of the trigger. With one squeeze of the trigger is letting off 40-50 rounds. So if the police was there, they wouldn't have been able to do anything but get shot up themselves. The thing is you know, when they get these little clues and stuff like that, but you know what? It may be different in Baltimore where the criminals are not like talking to the police. In my neck of the woods, the criminals talk to the police. Like, they have a relationship with them, and you can hear it on those those trucking radios. You can hear the criminals calling the police and telling them what they gonna do. You know, like, I'm gonna get up, have a cup of coffee, and then I'm gonna go call the fire department, tell them to run their sirens on this street. And the other thing that's mind-boggling is to why do the fire department, the sirens company, keep on doing it? And then if you ask, they'll tell you they being stalked too. Don't think people are, just because somebody has a title, superintendent, you know, police officer, chief, whatever, that they can't be harassed and stalked. Cops get stalked. There's a story I can show you. I was a guy cop at that. He had to move. He moved. My thing is, he could move because he was a guy and it was a woman stalking him. It was bad. She was sleeping with people to get them to harass him. Now, you know that's bad. That's the same thing my stalker do. He goes both ways. He's gay. And I've seen him in the act. And it's hard for me to believe myself that he's a gay man, because he should really be in jail for like capital punishment for luring me in when he knew that he just wanted to human traffic me the whole time. That's grounds for not only racketeering but capital. That should be capital. He should be facing a capital type of charge of some sort, because he has tried to jeopardize my life like it's attached to his living. It feels almost as if he doesn't stalk me and harass me, stalk and battery. It feels as if it feels as if he's gonna die if he don't do it. That's how it's done. It's like nonstop. It feels like if I had to put a finger on it, it feels like if he did it, if he didn't do it, like he would die, like his life is on the line. But we know that's not the case, because he's supposed to be this big macho guy who's going to protect me, and he can't protect his own self. It's a lie. It's just he's just evil. You know, when evil people do stuff, the innocent try to come up with a rationality behind the buffoonery and the debauchery. It don't work like that, guys. We can't explain nor express evil who have not sit out here and want to be evil like that. But there's plenty of friends he have, the Pookie and Ray Ray, these lambskin guys. Stay away from them.
When we catch these folks, and we will, we have to make sure that there are real consequences and real rehabilitation for people. Because this is not always about what the police are or are not doing. When people are shooting people in front of the police or with the police are on that block, it's clearly something much deeper than that.
Taylor says this underscores what the focus should be on: mental health.
People want to point the finger, this person, this leader's not doing their job.
That is not mental health. It seems like it. Like, obviously, someone is mentally distraught to be this kind of violent. That's not it. It's evil. Like, evil is not crazy. Crazy is not evil. It's different genres. It's like me saying that rock music and gospel is the same thing. We got gospel rock, but it's not. Y'all follow me? It's not the same. It's not the same. So no, it has nothing to do with mental. It's not mental health. It's just they just flat out evil. Just flat out evil, man. They just gave up. They just gave up. You know, most people back in the days, or Hollywood glamorizes giving up. Like somebody go jump off the bridge, they be all quiet. They go get them a little sub sandwich, and then they leave their car at the convenience store and they walk to the river bridge and they jump off it when ain't nobody driving by, so nobody will ever miss them. No, that's not giving up. Giving up is when you go and you commit violent crimes to people who have done nothing in this world ever, never. And if they did, you don't violate the law like that. These people don't care about the law. They don't even care about their own self. Think about it. Who does this? Evil, not crazy. Evil and crazy is not the same thing. Evil and crazy is not the same thing. And there's no pastor or preacher that's going to be able to tithe and get this straight for them, because it's an individual thing. They just giving up. It's like the incel guy, that incident where he had killed all them people because he felt entitled to have a woman. You want to call him crazy, or was he just evil? But like I said, I can't take my gun and go put that man on citizen arrest. Although I should. The law should be made to where somebody harass you 3 times. Not 3 consecutive times, but 3 times. You can go take their life. You are well within the law. Because he's hurting the whole, he's doing too much. He's doing too much. The reason why I should be able to do it is because ain't no other officer out here gonna feel the need to go out there and do that or know him. We've been stalked for 20 years here. I know this man what his shit smells like. I can tell you what it looked like. But a cop can't, if they could arrest him, they could do something, it would have been done by now. Who can do that? Who can do that? A woman has to, with the right, within my, I'm not trying to be on death row because somebody want to want to hover around me and breathe hard in the phone all fucking day. I'm not going to jail for that. It's stupid. That's stupid. This is what the Bible says, put stars on your crown. How can I say I'm any different from a criminal when I haven't been through adversity? That's what having faith means. Not having faith to tell some woman you're supposed to be submissive to me because I'm a man. That's not what the Bible meant by that. That's not what that scripture means. You understand what I'm saying? How can I say I'm different from him if I do the same thing he's doing? He's committing criminal offenses because he's not supposed to be stalking people. But he needs to go to jail. And he needs to be put on death row. These stalkers with these sexual crimes. Now, I can understand if he was just 17 years old. I wouldn't necessarily be saying this. That would be wrong. He's still a child. But this is a grown 40-year-old man who's built up stamina and skill on stalking people on a very high level. Even on my jobs, virtually, because that's why I stopped working at the brick and mortar. Because from fights, he was getting people to fight me, and I'm not big on sitting around letting nobody put their hands on me. I'm not. Not as a child, yes. But as an adult, I have rights.
This person's not doing their job. I don't think it has anything to do with that. Like, we have to get to the root cause of why the person, because babies are not born with a gun in their hand.
Her nonprofit, Empowering Minds of Maryland's Youth, works to give kids the tools to deal with anger, and she wants to see mental health checks being done on a larger scale.
Frederick Douglass said it best, it's easier to build strong children than a...
You can't do mental health checks. You cannot. You cannot. If I don't know that something is wrong with me, it don't matter who I'm talking to. They're just a waste of mass in my face. If I don't know that what I'm doing is wrong, or I have a contrary opinion to what you're saying, you could do a mental health check-in all day long. The problem with a mental health check-in is you're forgetting about personality disorders. People with personality disorders will work you like no other. And people with personality disorders are those that you speak to or you meet and you just feel so drained and exhausted being around them. It's like they'll work you up into a frenzy just to see how they could push your buttons. Doing a mental health check with that person is exactly what they want. They need somebody in their presence. But we're not realizing that these are all these crimes were like opportunist type of crimes. No one should be looking at a crime like as an opportunity. What I'm saying is, if y'all understand what I'm saying, they're doing this out of they're not going to get caught. So, they have an opportunity to commit a crime and not get caught. Now, if you want to sit here and talk to those kind of people and think they're going to confess to you and they're going to have a kumbaya moment, It's too late in the game to be thinking like that.
To repair broken men. So if we get to our babies and we get them that mental health now, they understand how to deal with those anger, outbursts, and they understand their triggers.
On January 2nd, Baltimore ceasefires.
The only time that'll work when what they forgetting about, a personality disorder is usually from a person with abandonment issues. Abandonment issues means that let's say you had a mother that was absent. The reason why that abandonment issue turns into a personality disorder is because if your mother was absent when you was a baby, you was never held. This looks like it's coming from people who was like never held or looked at as a baby. They just stone cold. So doing a mental health check-in with somebody that was never even hugged as a baby, never even looked at, is putting that mental health personnel life in danger. They'll be putting people's life in danger with that. They have to start, for me, the situation I'm in is one individual that needs to go. So the remedy is start putting people in jail. But the problem is, it's like you'll have more people in the jail than out, with my theory. So the other thing they could do is take those criminals and put them in their own communities where they matching them by their size so people won't be getting taken advantage of. That's one way of working around it, because they ain't got no place to live anyway. I mean, they do, but let them tell it. That'll work. And put tracking devices on these criminals, like up under their skin type of stuff, like that. The AI, artificial intelligence. They'll have to you could track them, put them in their own neighborhoods, make it to where when you have to go into places that the men can't come in until after the women come out, like 3 people in at a time, something like that. And then it can't be a man, or if they all of them go in there, make sure you take everybody a picture of their ID card, and they can't get in unless they show you their ID card. Stuff like that'll stop it. Not being extremists. Okay, put everybody in jail, but put them in their own towns. But you got to put them by their sizes, because they take advantage over people and make them do stuff. Make them do crimes. That person who shot them could have had a gun to his head.
Holding a citywide event called Reclaim Baltimore, where neighbors will sign.
And I mean, hypothetically, I'm definitely not on somebody's side for shooting up the joint like that.
Up to hold sacred space rituals in places where people were killed this year. We have more information on our website, WMAR2news.com. In Baltimore, Abby Isaacs, WMAR2 News.
But yeah, how does that make me different than anybody else if I go through adversity? I go through adversity and the first thing I do is go shoot them. This is miserable. What makes me feel good when I get up in the morning is that I'm not making somebody else's life miserable. My actions are not making somebody else's life miserable. That's how I counter up the trauma. I'm not creating trauma for anybody else. That's how I'm able to counter it. That's how my mind works. For me, other people, are able to just like that forget it. They don't even think about it. They get treated wrong and it just doesn't even register. That's a gift. That's a spiritual gift, to be able to forgive people. Think it ain't, but it is. You have to forgive every day. But like the scripture says, that puts stars on your crown, because although we live in a physical world, this world is very temporarily. We can't be here forever. You could be here, 60, I think life expectancy is getting longer and longer, so I guess you could be here a century and never get and never get, homicidal. You could be here a century and just never get offended by anybody. There are people out there like that. We don't know it, but there are people out there, it just doesn't bother them. There's just some kind of way that certain people are raised. But to be able to forgive people on a consistency is a spiritual gift. The Bible tells us to forgive, because how can I say, God forgive me for what I done wrong? And because a lot of times we do stuff that's wrong, we don't know it. I mean, let's say I cut her off while she was talking. I mean, technically that was wrong, right? But she's on this TV screen. But let's say, I did something, maybe it's very small, but it's all sin is sin in God's eye. Right? All sin is sin. So it doesn't matter if that man is a murderer or if that man is a track field star. All sin is sin. The only sin that's greater than the other is blasphemy. Now, from my research, that means those are people who sit there and say they preach the Bible to you like pastors, but when they go home, they literally have divination. They literally worship the devil. That's like blasphemy. That's a sin. Like, that's a for real sin. Or people who tell you like, oh, you're supposed to be submissive. That's what the Bible say. But then they go to the grave and be drinking blood, or be trying to find your sanitary napkins from your garbage can and be doing all this witchcraft on it. That's like a big sin. That's sin. That's for real sin.
Police say it all started when a group of 6 to 8 men went inside a Macy's. They tried to steal some merchandise, and they ended up assaulting one of the store employees. Now, this all happened around 6 o'clock last night inside the Macy's at the Oak Ridge Mall in San Jose. Police say the store's loss prevention team tried to stop the robbery, but the group of men ran away as officers were arriving to the scene. Police ended up detaining a man and a woman outside the store. In this video, you can see officers trying to arrest a man. He's on the floor. The woman in the red plaid shirt begins to interfere, and the situation escalates from there. Now, many people watched outside the store as it unfolded. Police say officers were trying to arrest the robbers, but a man and a woman interrupted them. Now, it's unclear if the two know the group of suspects, but police say the robbers attacked and hurt a Macy's employee during the initial robbery. Now, Noel, police say the investigation is ongoing. We have reached out to the San Jose Police Department to get more answers. It's unclear how much merchandise was stolen and any information on the people who were detained and the number of people who were arrested. We're still trying to get some answers, but of course we'll keep you updated on air and online at cron4.com as we get more information. For now, back to you.
So this shows us that, and I know we're not supposed to be race.
8 men went inside a Macy's. Happened. Police say the store ran away as officers inside the store.
We're not supposed to be looking at races, but I was saying, like, with those other people looting, we kept on seeing a certain demographic, and I was saying, like, why don't these big rapper elites folks and these lambskin guys and these black elites, why don't they like pay for some of the damages as a means of like trying to make it to where we not looked at as being we're not looked at as being the criminals of society. You know, we can do something other than buy a $100,000 gold chain or whatever, platinum chain or whatever, a platinum coated chain. But right here, those look like they are our counterparts. I wouldn't say those. They don't look marginalized. They almost look like a marginalized group, but I think they are.
Tommy Torres is managing a small cell phone shop when 2 customers walk in.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, where it's just, you know, the stuff they do is just, it's different.
By their time,
Oh, it's not going to show us this story. Uh-oh.
$780,000. Police have arrested 30.
Wait,
This morning,
708,000?
Waterville police made the largest drug bust in the city's history, worth more than $780,000. Police have arrested 37-year-old Victor Nicolas Soto Sanchez of the Dominican Republic, who they say was here in the U.S. illegally. Police seized about 6 pounds of fentanyl and another 5 of cocaine from his apartment on College Avenue. Soto Sanchez's bail is set at $250,000, and he's facing several charges, including 2 Class A felonies.
Following more breaking news this morning as teen robbers ambushed people in a game room overnight.
And we know 4 of the suspects were underage girls.
Ugochi Aloka is live in Southwest Houston this morning. Ugochi, what's the latest?
Well, Kimberly, Houston police say a group of teens rolled up to this game room cafe called Lemoore, went in and started robbing people inside. Now, you can see that broken glass still here, as well as the door broken in there, very visible. Now, also officers say that the youngest of the bunch is a 14-year-old girl. Now, this is video of the getaway car here, and also the teens arrested. Police say after firing a shot in the air and robbing those people, the group piled into an SUV and took off. Police tried to stop them, but they kept going. Ultimately, officers say they had to perform a pit maneuver to stop the group near Echo Lane, just south of the Katy Freeway. In all, they say the pursuit lasted about 15 minutes, and police say they found a gun and cash in the car. And we're told the 5 teens face aggravated robbery as well as fleeing from police charges. The good news here, though, Kimberly, is that nobody was hurt, including the officers, the teens, and the people robbed inside. Good news indeed. Ugochi Aloka live for us on Breaking News this morning. Thanks so much. And we will be following these breaking stories throughout the morning, so stick with us. You can get updates anytime on KHOU.com and on the KHOU 11 mobile app.
Tonight in Escambia County, 2 shootings. 1 person dead, another injured.
Our Kelsey Coffey has been following this throughout the morning and joins us with the latest details. Good morning, Kelsey.
Good morning, Laura. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office says 1 woman was shot and killed. A man was shot in the elbow. We don't know the details of his condition. This all happened just before midnight. Now, we're going to give you a look at some of the crime scene from overnight. Deputies are investigating 2 locations, the intersection of Lloyd and North Kirk Street and North T and Gonzales. Deputies were called to Lloyd Street first, just before 11 o'clock last night. Then they received a call at North T Street about 20 minutes later. We're going to pull up a map right now so you can see just how close these locations are to one another. They're only about a mile apart, just a 3-minute drive. Deputies say these shootings appear to be related, but they don't have any more details. Jared, Laura, this is an ongoing investigation. We'll keep everyone updated on air and online at WEARTV.com.
All right, Kelsey, thank you so much.
Tonight.
Hey y'all, I like that kind of stuff, but I don't like seeing them waste food. They wasting food.
Detectives from the Newcastle County Division of Police have been investigating 3 kidnappings that have occurred from February 2017 to March 2017.
We were struck with a serial subject who was responsible for sexual assaults and robberies of random innocent female victims.
Detectives believe that the same suspect was responsible for all 3 incidents. During the course of the ensuing investigation, the Newcastle County Police collaborated with multiple federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies from Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Numerous tips were also received from the public. These efforts, coupled with various investigative techniques, identified 47-year-old Queasy Hudson as a potential suspect for all 3 incidents.
Sorry. What's his name? What they said? They said Quincy. Sound like they said Queasy. He may have. You know what? He probably just mispronunciated the name. But let me go back. They said his name Queasy.
7-year-old Queasy Hudson
Yeah.
as a potential suspect for all 3 incidents. Today, Detective Charles Levy of the Newcastle County Division of Police Criminal Investigation Unit testified before the Newcastle County Grand Jury. The grand jury subsequently indicted Queasy Hudson, charging him with the following list of offenses: 2 counts of kidnapping in the 1st degree, 2 counts robbery in the 1st degree, 1 count assault in the 1st degree, 1 count unlawful sexual contact in the 1st degree, 1 count rape in the 2nd degree, 1 count burglary in the 1st degree, 1 count home invasion, 1 count aggravated menacing, 2 counts of misdemeanor terroristic threatening, 1 count assault in the 3rd degree, 1 count attempted kidnapping in the 2nd degree, 1 count attempted robbery in the 1st degree.
Our communities will be safer if we take the time to care for one another, if the community comes forward and they continue to assist us the way that they have been doing recently.
A wild and chaotic scene taking place in the early morning hours in Cumberland County in Vineland, New Jersey, Saturday morning. In this video obtained by Fox 29 News from a neighbor, you can see someone hijack what appears to be a backhoe and flipping an entire Vineland police car on its side. Ada Morales was woken up by the carnage around 5 in the morning. That's when she came out and already saw an ambulance flipped over on its side. She began recording what she said was an unbelievable scene.
I'm very shaken up. I've never seen anything like that. And you wonder why that person, what made that person snap. You know, sad. It was a big old bulldozer flipping the cars all over, and then it flipped the ambulance.
Yeah, they that's evil. That's just evil. But cause backhoes, they don't go that fast. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think they can do 35 miles per hour. So he couldn't have got too far. But maybe he tried to do it at like you know, maybe 3 o'clock, or maybe he thought nobody would be out and he'd be able to just go through there real quick, in and out. But yeah, that would be considered evil because he could have killed folks. The ambulance, can you imagine using that to turn over an ambulance?
It flipped it right over. I have videos of it.
What was that like to see that?
I was just telling my son it looked like something out of a movie. I've never seen anything like it.
She said she's not sure, but also heard what may have been shots fired as well.
I heard some, like, it sounded like shooting. Then I heard sirens, so I don't know exactly what happened.
The New Jersey Attorney General's office is conducting an investigation right now. Currently, 1 person is confirmed dead and 3 Vineland police officers sustained minor injuries. In Vineland, Marcus Espinoza, Fox 29 News.
And Cincinnati police have identified a woman killed in a Delta.
It was just crazy how much time it took. It took way too long.
Here they were when they appeared happy. Their now ex, Juan Madrigal, was convicted back then in 2012 for abusing her.
What was the key in you being able to get out or get away?
Honestly, it was realizing that my family started planning my funeral and knowing that my family began to grieve my loss, even though I was still around.
It took a complaint from another woman to send him away, this time for 25 years.
Instant feeling of I'm free. I finally don't have to look over my shoulder. There were times where I just wanted to be done altogether and be done with all of it. But then I look at my picture of my little girl, and every single time, that's the one anchor that kept me grounded was her.
She says her most crucial call was to an organization called Thrive.
I had contacted Thrive a couple of times throughout this relationship, so they were instrumental in helping me to grow beyond that relationship and grow beyond the abuse that I had endured. Get up past those clouds. Never stop. Because you can get out. You can make it above those clouds. You can break that ceiling.
You're living proof.
Exactly. And I made sure that my daughter made it out safe.
New this morning, Waterville police made the largest drug bust in the city's history.
Following more
To the Escambia County, 2 shootings.
Whole shooting.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Malahy. Breaking, man accused of rape, aggravated kidnapping, and obstruction of justice in the disappearance of Madeline Allen, who was found last night. A very graphic police probable cause report released late today says Allen and suspect Brent Brown met on a dating app. And the report suggests she went willingly with him to a home in Wayne County, but once there, he would not allow her to leave. The Allen family today spoke to reporters, and Ariel Harrison is on our top story for us now. Ariel.
Well, in that press conference just earlier today, police mentioned that obstruction of justice charge against 39-year-old Brent Brown, but we learned from court documents just today that the 30.
I just want to add. I feel led to add that this is, I think, the second time in 4 days that we hear about somebody getting injured on that dating app. You know, using a dating app and then having something adverse happen to them. That that doesn't mean that we should stop using the dating app. Although I don't. That's not my situation. That's not my fight. But I don't think that people should just not use those dating sites. I do believe in true love and that there is somebody for everybody. With that being said, sometimes we can spend a lifetime waiting for that right person to come along, and never really actually get to be in a relationship with them because they may not be the right personality or whatever. But I guess we have to remain hopeful, or just don't go to people's houses. Perhaps I know I wouldn't want to go to somebody else's house, even if it's on a nice neighborhood in a really big house, because he could just have so many people in there and stuff can go weird.
9-year-old was arrested on suspicion of those first-degree felony charges that could carry life in prison. Now, additionally, the chief of police there at Snow College said that they found Maddie at a home in Wayne County just yesterday. This after days of searching for her. In that press conference today, Maddie's family called her a fighter, a survivor, and also that what she's been through as traumatic and dangerous.
You can also imagine how we must have felt when the chief called me last night.
So I need to take a quick break. I'll be right back. I'm just going to turn up the, elevator music so you don't hear me stopping away. Okay, I'm back. The other story I had wanted to look at was the one with they had a bald water advisory in one of the small towns in the state of Georgia. So I thought that deserved to be looked at. I'll probably try to look at it
tomorrow. Will be on hand tomorrow for students in the Moorhead area school district.
Father in Mesa booked into jail on homicide charges after his son died. It happened near Val Vista and Baseline over the weekend. Mesa police say it was a domestic violence situation between the father and his 19-year-old son. And as soon as we learn more about this, we'll let you know.
Austin, 2 deadly shootings in Manor are under investigation tonight. They happened yesterday evening, less than an hour apart and only 2 miles away from each other. First, we want to tell you about the second incident. The Travis County Sheriff's Office says they found a man in his 20s dead from a gunshot wound. This happened near James Garfield Street and Rutherford B. Hayes Street. Investigators believe this was an isolated incident. No arrests have been made. This is the 12th homicide for the Travis County Sheriff's Office and the 3rd in the last week. Now, in the first incident, Manor police are investigating a shooting that killed one Pflugerville ISD student last night.
That shooting is being reported as accidental. CBS Austin's Lindsay Regis joins us now with reaction from students and the latest in this investigation. Lindsay, this has to be tough. How are the students holding up?
That's right. Students are heartbroken. They say teachers informed them of what happened this morning, and crisis counselors were on campus for anyone who needs it.
He was just a goofy kid. He was funny.
That's how students at Wise High School are describing their 17-year-old classmate who was shot to death last night.
I had like 2 or 3 of them that knew him in the class, and they were pretty bummed out about it. Like, and plus, that's like also a worst thing to be going through right now.
Police say the victim is a 17-year-old male. Although the school district hasn't released the victim's name, students say his name was Stevie.
Most of my friends have been posting on Snapchat saying rest in peace or long live Stevie.
The Manor Police Department says Tuesday's shooting happened around 9 p.m. in the Stonewater subdivision on Jamie Drive.
What was happening at the house was he was there with some friends. There was a group of young gentlemen. This gun was being played with or manhandled and allegedly was accidentally fired.
Police Chief Ryan Phipps says a full investigation is underway to find out who owned the gun and what led to the deadly shooting.
The situation at the scene led the officers to believe that this was legitimately an accident. However, it will be investigated to the fullest extent as if it were not.
Although uncommon, Chief Phipps reminds parents to talk to their children about gun safety to prevent a shooting like this from happening again.
This resulted in a very tragic situation where now you have a family that doesn't have a 17-year-old son at Christmas time and a school who's mourning the loss of a fellow student that they don't get to graduate with.
The school district says crisis counselors and social workers were on campus today and will remain on campus for as long as they're needed. Reporting live in the studio, Lindsay Regis, CBS Austin News.
Santa Maria police are investigating a shooting that left 2 teens injured last night. Police say at about 8 p.m. they responded to reports of a shooting on the 400 block of Chaparral Street. When officers arrived, they say they found 2 17-year-old male victims with gunshot wounds. Both victims were transported by ambulance to Marion Medical Center. The condition of the 2 teens is unknown at this time. Santa Maria PD detectives are investigating the shooting and are asking anyone who may have seen any suspicious activity before or after the shooting to please contact them.
A 13-year-old girl is the 7th member of one Bowling Green family killed in the storms. Her body was recovered earlier today. WOQI Shaquille Ward was there as volunteers have stepped up to show support for survivors.
Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman says the state will do all that it can to help these families who have been impacted by this deadly tornado.
Kentucky has raised more than $16 million to help families, from those without insurance to those who need help covering the cost of funerals. But touring the damage at some of the hardest hit areas in Warren County on Thursday, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman says it's hard not to get emotional.
I don't know how these folks can possibly begin to move forward, but what I do know is they have a community full of people.
All right, so my stream has started to buffer, so we're gonna go ahead and end it. And so tomorrow I'll do the article with the bald water advisory, because we definitely don't want to drink dirty water and end up really sick and hospitalized or anything like that during the COVID pandemic. But now there seems to be a little stalkeration going on, but again, if the stalker is like, you know, kicked up a notch, I'll probably go live with the stalker song with the you'll see the stop stalking thing. First, I think it shows Newsstream because it don't let me change the thumbnail initially sometimes, but I'll put that on stream as well, the stalkeration, because it looks like they kind of kicked it up a notch, so I'll probably get ready to do that. But please like, subscribe, share, comment, share this with your family or anybody you think would be interested in watching this. And so thank you so much for tuning in, and God bless. Until next time.